So I would like to know how you first got into toy collection.
First toy collecting started with Pez dispensers.
Okay.
And that was, when I was growing up, every holiday my parents would go, okay, here, Easter, and make an Easter basket as we're growing up. There'd be a Pez dispenser in there and some chocolate and things like that. But it's one of those toys that stuck with me. So when it was freshman in college, actually, that I was just in there, and I was on my own and living on my own at the time, and I was in the supermarket and I see a Pez hanging up, and I went, oh, Pez dispenser, this is weird. It's 99 cents. So I got it, and you put it up on the windowsill.
Yeah.
And so pass by it every day, and you look at it and go, oh, I should get another one, because
that one's boring.
Yeah, there's just one. So slowly, you add another one, and we're touring. So now, we're stopping in Toys R Us, and we're stopping in all these places, and it was this cheap go-to thing of pop culture and memory.
Yeah.
That's what it is, and it drove me to start collecting it, and to the point where me and Raj, our bass player, both were collecting at the same time while we were on tour, and it became, oh, we're not stopping again to look for Pez dispensers with the other guys, and me and Raj are like, no, we're stopping. Like,
please.
We're stopping at this weird sort of junk store. We're stopping to check flea markets, whatever it was. So it's that memory and sort of the pop culture drivenness of Pez, and that's how I started collecting toys. It was started with Pez dispensers, and sort of, if you know anything about Less Than Jake, Pez is definitely part of our
absolutely.
It got stuck in that moment. So, from Pez, I started to go back, and it was Godzilla toys.
Okay.
Japanese ones.
Action figures then?
But also very big ones.
Okay.
From Japan that were
ones
done.
that you build, or ones that come?
The ones that, I was never a model maker.
Okay.
Ever. I like to collect action figures. And so it went to Godzilla, then it went to Ultraman. And then it went to Tick Toys.
Okay.
Which a Tick was a
like that blue guy.
The blue guy, yes.
Okay.
The Tick Toys.
Yeah.
And it progresses. Being a collector of anything, but toys specifically, you start to get very weird about it. Like, okay, here's this Pez dispenser, but this Pez dispenser has two white eyes instead of black eyes.
Okay.
And it's
you want the black eyes.
You want the white and the black eyes one. You can't just have one thing when you're collecting.
You need the variants.
You need the very specific things. Even the minutia, just the tiniest detail change. You go, okay, I'll have that, but wait, this other thing, I'll have that too.
Yeah.
And it starts to build this craziness about collecting.
I like that.
And I was like that for a very long time, where I was like, okay, I have to have this. This is a little different. I have to have that as well. And sooner or later, you start to fill up. I filled up a shelf.
Yeah.
And then I filled up 4 shelves. And then I filled up a half a room. Then I filled up a whole room. Then I filled up a whole room plus a half a room. And then I filled up my living room, a half a room, and a whole room. And then I got married. And then my wife went, wait a second. We're moving to a new house. And we were moving to a new house. And she was like, we're not bringing all this stuff, are we? We're not going to set it all up how we're setting it up. I'm like,
why not?
And she was like, no, it's not happening. So,
okay, wait. So I'm married, so I know that conversation.
Yeah, the conversation's a heavy conversation.
Tell me how that went down. What was the compromise, or where did you end up putting them, or?
Well, at the same time, I had started Paper and Plastic, and we were doing toys, and we were also doing vinyl records. And she was like, why don't you put them at the office, the warehouse of Paper and Plastic?
Right.
So I went, okay, I can do that. But then I got paranoid to have it all out, because when I was on tour, and then Paper and Plastic, it is sort of like a weird hub of things. So people come in and they come out, and I was like, I can't figure that out. So then they stayed in storage for a very long time, until a year ago I had started a tattoo shop. And then the tattoo shop, I co-own it, but it's half of it is tattoo, the other half is toy store.
Okay.
But in that toy store realm of things is also my collection of things that I'm building into. So now they're finally out and free from their captivity of
and
a few years.
that's Wonderland Tattoo, right?
It is, yeah.
And originally the toy company was Wonderland Toys?
It's called Wonderland War.
Wonderland War,
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And so then that theme, why that theme, or why that name?
Well, originally the toy lines that I happened to do, it was called Monkey vs. Robot.
Okay.
And there was no other toys by that name, but there was a book by James Kalchalka called Monkey vs. Robot.
Okay.
So I was like, I like this, and this is cool. It has nothing to do with his thing, so I'll just do it anyway. So I did 2 lines of that, 2 series, and then I get an email from him and say, well, I kind of want to do toys. Is it any way possible that you could change the name from Monkey vs. Robot to something else?
To something else. Okay.
And I went,
got it.
yeah, man, I'm cool with that. I wasn't, totally in love with it. And at that time, I was like, it wasn't that it was very internet based and where it was branding.
Yeah.
It was just a hobby that I was doing. And
Yeah.
so it was not a big deal to change the name. So I was trying to think, what is it? And the things that I like about art and the things that I'm drawn to, it's sad to say, but it's a view into my psyche. Very bright, colorful things,
Yeah.
but also very violent.
Like
and
dark
obscene things.
thematic
Yes.
stuff, right?
So I was thinking to myself, I was like, this is what I like about art, and this is the elements that I'm drawn to. So what is that? And I stumbled into this Wonderland
Yeah.
War title, and I kind of stick with it because so I feel,
Yeah.
it's about art. I think that art is what's beautiful to some people is also ugly, and what's ugly to some people is also beautiful. So I like to kind of embrace both sort of notions into one thing, which is
Right,
Wonderland.
especially with like the way that you've designed the toys. There
Mm-hmm.
are like, there's the monkeys, some of which have like, there's the Crazy Eight Assassins
Yes.
one. There's like the cult leader one. He has the cup.
yeah, it
There's
has the
like,
poison.
Yeah, the poison cup. There's all the symptoms who are like sort of not decaying, but they have
of
like
course, of
bloodshot
course.
eyes
Yes,
or they're
yes.
throwing up or
Yeah.
whatever. But they're all really pretty to look at though too.
It's this sort of cute, toy, and the aesthetic is this sort of cute, a little bit of Japanese influence
Yeah,
on
definitely.
it.
I feel like it has like a Powerpuff Girls
Of course,
or like
absolutely.
Dexter's Lab kind of
100%.
feel to it.
And but you add this sort of very gritty sense to it. There's a gun behind this cute monkey's back,
Sure.
and there's a cup of poison. There's money in the back pocket of a characters that I call him the cult leader, but it's priest for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
Thing. So there's this dark and grittiness to everything that's cute. So that's
Yeah.
what the base of it was anyway. So
Sure.
seamlessly kind of drifted. And as things went, and I had started Paper and Plastic, which my intent was always to do toys with vinyl. Then I went, it seems silly running Wonderland War and Paper and Plastic as 2 separate things. So I just combined it, combined everything into Paper and Plastic. But still, that Wonderland, if you're a collector, the Wonderland War thing, and it keeps on progressing through.
I love how, whether joke or not, that everything is ography and you have toyography on the
That's
website.
what it's skullography.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Yeah,
like it.
I mean, and it's weird because at a certain point you go, how much is too much? How much creative output is too much? But it also goes to the opposite side of a collector. How many skulls is too many skulls to buy?
There's probably no limit.
I don't know.
Point.
I don't know if that's true or not. And I wrestle with that all the time. Like, am I doing too much? Am I not doing enough? And it's a rush. It's a rush of creative output that I try, and sometimes I'm frantic about. Like, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this.
Yeah.
And splitting up your time and the energy, and making sure that everything that you're putting energy into, you're doing it right, and you're doing it with the passion that you should be doing.
Right. It's not just like you're churning out content for the sake of content or churning out product for the sake of product. These are all things that you care about, and you want people to care about them equally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've met really, really, really cool people while collecting toys. And it seems funny because you have this like weird intersection of wrestling, toy collecting, comic books, and punk rock. And
Like WCW wrestling?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you all of a sudden you're faced with, okay, if you like punk rock, and then you meet someone else who likes punk rock and happens to like Less Than Jake or whatever, and then most of the time that extension goes into one of those other things.
Okay.
Whether it be movie culture or comic books or toy collecting. So as Less Than Jake's been around, I've met other toy collectors that are like, you're less than Jake, or oh, and knew I was less than Jake, but hey, I collect toys too. So it's pretty wild, you know.
Yeah.
But again, I think there's this culture that there's a pivot point of many other cultures that collide together, and there's a gray, and there's a lot of overlap of those things. And it's cool to me if anyone has a chance to go to San Diego Comic-Con, you would go, your mind would be blown at the amount of culture that's there, but also the amount of people that are there. And it's you know, shoulder to shoulder, it's just packed, it just goes on forever, football fields worth of these things, and you go, wow, I didn't know that this was that important to this many people, but it truly is, and it's something, you know, just eye candy for days and days and days, and it's cool. But with that said, as far as the culture of me doing toys and then meeting other people that are fans, and it becomes that there's kind of goes into two spots. There's people who collect toys that I do that don't like Less Than Jake, that just like the toys that I'm doing and collect them. Then there are people that like Less Than Jake that are fans who are also toy collectors that have collected the toys that I do. So it's a very weird thing to meet other people where you go, so yeah, I bought this toy and this is cool, and then you don't want to mention, oh yeah, well, Les and Jake, we're going on tour here or whatever, because sometimes people are like,
you're like, I don't.
Yeah, well, what's the next toy you're doing? Like, is that, so it's pretty wild that it's split, very crazy like that, but it is, and it's wild. But there's community that's online that shares. Okay, I do very short runs of toys.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes from 13 being the lowest, up to 33 being the highest.
Okay.
So you have some people are like, well, I'm working. Can you get this toy? Can you buy one and then buy another one? And we'll trade because I have this thing. And to watch it from the sidelines, to see that community sort of operate like that and be passionate about those things that I'm doing, but not taking part in it. But, you know, me just watching it it's very cool.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And the same thing goes for, you know, to jump out of that into the Less Than Jake world where people are collecting Less Than Jake records. Yeah. And, okay, I'm buying 2 because my friend can't be here, so I'm going to buy this. Yeah. And then I'm going to trade him for whatever, the face-to-face record that I can't get or whatever record. It's cool to not be a part of that, but to be able to see it online, you know, through like a Facebook group or a forum or something like that, to be able to view it but not be a direct part of it. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, I like that because you're involved physically with the process of your toys versus the music, which is sort of, I mean, separate in some ways, right? You're drumming, but you're not like
of course,
creating the vinyl, I suppose.
And you know, as far as Gainesville is concerned, right? So now there's a hub. It's Wonderland Tattoo. It's there. There's toys. So there are collectors that come in. There's about a half dozen that are specific. They stop in, you know, once a week and kind of go.
Okay, peruse or see if anything's new.
Absolutely. The way our stock kind of works, you know, if there's something that's left over from the online store, it gets brought in and stock kind of disappears and things like that. So it's once a week you see the regulars come in and go, anything new? Oh, okay. And they do it, and sometimes they've been they eye this one thing, I'm not going to buy it this time. And then they come back like three times, like the third walkthrough, they're like, all right, I'm going to buy that now. And you're like, oh yeah, this is great.
You should have a rule if they enter in by the third time, you have to buy what you thought
a punch card.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, all right, bro, get out or buy this. Yeah. Do those people then normally get ink as well? Like, is there a connection in those communities at all?
You know what? Gainesville is a college town, a specific college town. So right now, it's what the shop is doing is sort of just educating people that here's this culture that exists outside of Gainesville. It's collectible toys and it's low art and things like that. But there's a gray area that go tattoo culture and toy culture and collecting things. There's an overlap. So we're trying to educate some people that are just coming in for a tattoo and go, look at all this other stuff.
This all exists.
This all exists together. You know, and art.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's interesting that you use the term low art. I don't know if I've thought about it that way before.
It is.
But
it is. You know, I didn't think of that term. You know, I'm just using it because the reference of that. You know, you have, you know, some people that do poster art, just poster art. You know, for shows or for whatever, right? And that's, low art. It's not designed to try to be in, Tate Museum of Art or anything.
Museum of Contemporary Art downtown.
Whatever it is, but it's this immediacy of art for people. It's up on a wall, it's in a window, and people go, oh, I love that, and I want it. I'm going to frame it, I'm going to put it in things. So the same thing as toys. It's this sort of quick thing that's there, and people appreciate for what it is, but can also purchase it at a lower price than you can, purchase, a Warhol for or what have you.
Right. I'm curious about this idea of Monkey vs. Robot. Specifically, I downloaded the children's book and read the children's book, so that's all about robots. And you say in the opening something along the lines of, I've always loved robots. They're sort of the first creature or character that I came in love with.
Absolutely.
Why is that the case? Why do you think you were always drawn to robots, drawn to that kind of thing?
Well, I'm going to answer that question, then I'm going to move into another thing. Right?
Do you, man?
Okay, yeah. So, robots to me when I was growing up, you have this thing that I know growing up, being young, 5 years old, 6, 7. Okay, that's, like a TV set that has circuits and that has there's no human emotion that's supposed to be there. But as I was growing up, there was movies that made those things have human emotion and make you want to connect with something that you shouldn't want to connect on a human level with, right? And I was always drawn to that. I was always, when growing up, puzzled that people were trying to sort of send me down that road of loving inanimate objects and putting something, I love this thing that has no emotion, that can't love me back, but they always try to convince, when I was growing up, there's movies and TV shows that were trying to convince me otherwise, that if I love that thing hard enough, this thing would pop open, this magic, and it would love me back. And it was something, always a recurring thing to me, that I always was like, I don't understand that, and then on the other side of it, the human aspect of it, where you could love something or care about a human, but who also has emotions, but then would not love you back, even though they had the ability to do so. And I know it's heavy themes, but I was a creepy kid when I was growing up. I can't. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I was a creepy kid. I liked heavy metal when I was growing up. I liked Slayer and things like that. I mean, what do you want me to say? But so, with that said, moving into the robots, obviously, the love that I have for it. Guys just said it. But in University of Florida, they were researching and developing biological warfare. And monkeys that they were doing experiments on, they happened to escape into Gainesville. This is in the 70s sometimes.
Okay.
So they were like, we have to find it. So they located these monkeys, but University of Florida and the military both sent in these robot catchers
to go net them?
Yes.
Whoa.
So they couldn't be. So that was the inception of the monkey versus robot thing, which was entrenched into Gainesville itself, as well as everything else, and then you stumble on other things as you start to put it together.
So then that becomes representative of you and the town that you're from, which is connected to Less Than Jake.
It all goes down the line. It all becomes one crazy circular thing.
Cool.
But that's what what. I love when things can lap themselves. I love it when you start with one thing and you go on this whole big journey, and then it wind up at the same spot that you started with. That's a beautiful thing, man. In my eyes, that's a beautiful thing. If you can, all of a sudden, I met you, right?
Yeah.
Today, but a year from now, I'm somewhere else, and you're like, I did the green room thing, and like, oh, that's beautiful. And
then I'm like, give me an awesome tattoo of that
whatever,
robot.
Yeah, whatever it is. But when you're able to meet and finish the story, that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
that's amazing. That's what I live for. That's what I do. I swear to you.
No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain?
Of course.
There's an episode where he talks about how his whole food journey is a cycle of noodles, and that no matter what, he eats noodles, and then he goes everywhere else around the world, and then when he finds the next noodle, that's the thing that he wanted the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get it. There's one of those things, and it's touring. It was always that, man. You start at home, and then you go on this journey and you meet people and you do all these things, and at the same time at home all these other things are changing and morphing while you're gone. But then you show back up at that same spot that you left, and sometimes things have changed, sometimes things are exactly the same. But it's always wild, man. It's for me to be able to do that circle and come back to the same spot that you started, literally or figuratively. That's the thing for me. That's what drives the insanity and the OCD.
And the sanity.
The sanity and insanity. That's what drives me, man. It becomes this huge one lap of things, and when that can happen, and when and if it does happen, that's satisfying to me. So there it is.
Cool.
Toys. Get into it, man. It's a whole thing.